sees the means of production, and the like and subscribe button. You probably have already heard about this.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too.
A job
we'll
with
own it. And be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site, and...
Can't wait to pay contractors $50 trillion to do this.
Get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job.
I like how he said people of the area because he means Israelis, but he rather than say Israelis, he's keeping it ambiguous by saying like, oh, just, you know, folks around.
Do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region. And we've really done that.
Gazan slave labor is a possibility. Oh yeah, sure, why not? Isn't the Saudi Arabian The Line project, aren't there already like 40,000 people dead? It's not exactly like out of the realm of possibility for the region. More than that? Yeah, how many people? It's like an enormous number of people. A documentary by UK broadcaster ITV alleged that 21,000 foreign workers had died and another 100,000 more had gone missing while working on Saudi Arabian mega projects, with migrant workers from India, Bangladesh, and Nepal being the main victims. But Saudi Arabia says that's not true, so I believe them.
We're a respected nation again. A lot's happened in the last couple of weeks. We are actually a very respected nation again. I ended the last administration's de facto arms embargo on over $1 billion in military assistance for Israel. And I'm also pleased to announce that this afternoon, the United States withdrew from the anti-Semitic UN Human Rights Council and ended all of the support for the UN Relief and Works Agency, which funneled money to Hamas. And
how do like the Nazis feel about this? Like all of the epic red-pilled paleocons who are like, thank God for Trump rebuilding glorious America, and meanwhile like no president has ever been as cucked to Israel as Trump, not even close. Like Biden was remarkably cucked to Israel, but he doesn't even come remotely close to... Okay, I skip ahead to this. Did you see the Trump pulling out Netanyahu's chair and pushing it in that everyone's talking about, because Trump never does gestures like this? So for him to like push a chair in like a service staff, the president of the United States, to push a chair. That's pretty insane, man. That's pretty insane. Like, this isn't like a general gesture. It's Donald Trump, the most selfish man on earth. And he's like, you know, acting like a service staff. The dick riding is crazy. Exactly. Anyway, it's a tiny little thing, but I stand by it. It's really, really bad. The goat really did have his ego broken? No kidding. Netanyahu doesn't even thank him. Yeah, no, why would he, you know? Netanyahu actually does have some control over Israel. Trump has none in America, so...
It was very disloyal to humanity. Today, I also took action to restore a maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime, and we will once again enforce the most aggressive possible sanctions, drive Iranian oil exports to zero, and diminish the regime's capacity to fund terror throughout the region and throughout the world. We had no threat when I left office. Iran was not able to sell oil. Nobody was buying oil because I said, don't buy it. If you buy it, you're not doing any business with the United States. And Hamas was not being funded. Hezbollah was not being funded. Nobody was being funded. There would never have been an October 7th. 2 weeks ago, I once again designated the Houthis as a organization. They're trying to destroy world shipping lanes, and that's not going to happen. And over the weekend, I ordered airstrikes against senior ISIS leaders hiding in Somalia, and took them out. Here in America, we've begun the process of deporting foreign terrorists, jihadists, and Hamas sympathizers.
Okay, we're fully in the weave now. Yeah, so we're going to get directly involved in Gaza. So that'll be fun. As is always the case, like the whole reason this is being done is to further the interests of the MIC, get massive contracts. All the construction work that's going to be done, all the bomb defusal, all the work that's going to be done in the Gaza Strip. We paid Israel to drop the bombs. Now we pay Israel and Israeli companies to clean it all up. It all comes from our pocketbook. And there's not like it's not like the proletariat doesn't exist in Israel as well, but we obviously have a lot more money to throw around. Will the UN do anything about this? I'm sure the UN will be very upset about it. And, I hope they're contented with that. Apparently, the proposal is to get other states to come up with their solutions to it. I mean, Trump did just kind of fire this one off without much of a plan or warning. What do you mean? Oh, are they trying to walk it back? National Security Advisor Mike Waltz confirmed that Trump's proposal to take over Gaza is meant to pressure neighboring Arab nations and to come up with their own solution. That doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? The president of the United States giving a little foot massage to Netanyahu and saying, don't worry, America will come and clean everything up. That's meant to encourage Arab states to do something. I think what he means here is it's meant to prompt those Arab states into taking in ethnically cleansed Palestinians, because there are still like 1.5 million of them left over there, right? Being bounced around like tent camps in the region. So the real question is, like, what are you going to do with the remaining Palestinian population? Yeah, that's definitely what they're talking about. White House appears to walk back Trump's shock Gaza plan. Trump had meant Palestinians should be temporarily relocated when he said the U.S. would take over the territory. Yeah, because the language of Trump implied complete ethnic cleansing or removal, which is, of course, what Netanyahu wants. But now people are saying, like, no, they'll get to come back in. It doesn't matter. Their words are meaningless here. We understand what the intention is. I've seen people trying to say this is a means to negotiate a new Iranian nuclear deal. How? How does that, what possible connection could you... Donald Trump could slam his dick in a car door and people would be like, this is actually a move to pressure Canada into no longer allowing fentanyl into the United States. Like, it doesn't... Okay, yeah. Enough with the 40 chess, memery. Not happening. Reused joke. It's true. Not really a joke. It's kind of like the nature of how this all works, How will you move 1.5 million people? Well, that's Israeli ingenuity. Through Israeli military engineering, there are now fewer Palestinians to displace, which makes the whole job a lot easier, Really remarkable stuff. It's been made very clear that the president of the United States needs to be involved in the rebuilding effort to ensure stability in the region for all people. However, that does not mean boots on the ground in Gaza. It does not mean American taxpayers will be funding this effort. Bullshit. Obviously bullshit. Like, yeah, obviously. Again, the only reason any of this is done is, like, for money. Well, for the Israelis, it's about the joy of a different ethnic group. But for the broader interests at play here, it's about the money. This is somehow more bullshit than Mexico paying for the wall. Yeah, remember when Mexico was going to pay for the border wall? The big news is that he said he'd move 1.7 million people. If that's accurate, it means the death toll is like 500,000 people, which some have suggested. It does seem like Trump is mentally compromised enough that he is now just blurting out the stuff that he's getting told privately rather than blurting out the messaging they're meant to deliver to the public, Like, him holding the chair in for Netanyahu, him going up here and just saying flat out, like, yeah, we're going to go there, we're going to do it. To be fair, he always did that. That's true. This seems like a bit more so, though. The immediate walking back, not even from, like, neocons in the administration, but from people, like, in his loyal circle, kind of makes me think that, like, they took Trump to a back room and they were like, yeah, okay, so we're evil and it's a blah, blah, and we're going to do this all for money, mwahaha. And then he just went out there and repeated the points that he heard, rather than, like, dousing people in the euphemisms. Masterful gambit, sir. Now finish the damn video.
From our soil, just as we have people that are extremely evil, and we're sending them out of our country. They came from jails. They came from mental institutions back, and they're taking them back very gladly. Shine so brightly just 4 years ago. It was really a bright, beautiful light. We will restore calm and stability to the region, tranquility, and have great lives.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Trump. Much appreciated. Thank you. Anyway, pretty wild.
There is no better source to start this hour than our own Fareed Zakaria on all of this, and he joins me now. And Fareed, obviously,
how you doing, man?
Just to give everyone, I was at the White House all day. To catch everyone up, what had happened is before Prime Minister Netanyahu even got there, Trump was suggesting that Palestinians should leave Gaza, that it's not livable, that it's going to take 10 to 15 years to rebuild because of all the destruction there from the Israeli strikes since October 7th, since this war has started. Then he repeated it again in the Oval Office with Netanyahu seated by his side. And then he came out at that press conference, and that is when he made the news on his own without being asked by a reporter about the U.S. taking over the Gaza Strip. Obviously, an extraordinary statement from an American president. What are your takeaways, Fareed?
Well, it's breathtaking, and one doesn't really know where to begin. You asked the central question, Caitlin, which is, where would these people go? There are 2 million Palestinians in Gaza who have lived through several wars, several incredibly intense bouts of violence with Israel because they want to live on their land. As you say, the neighboring countries, Egypt and Jordan, have both categorically and repeatedly said that they were not going to take people in. So it's not entirely clear how this happens.
Yeah, it really does seem like the only, unless an Arab country buckles and takes in the Palestinian refugees, it seems like the Palestinians are just going to have to be like a slave caste in the Gaza Strip. You know, they're going to be like working the golf course of Mar-a-Lago 2. Do you see that tweet? Nancy Mace said, let's turn the Gaza Strip into Mar-a-Lago. I appreciate when they're straightforward. I dislike the dishonesty more than I dislike the evil plus the dishonesty, I guess. Hello. Or I should say, like, if they're going to be evil, I'd rather they be honest about it. Oh, sorry, I was distracted by a beautiful kitten running around at high speeds.
The United States would have to invade Gaza, would have to expel Hamas, would have to conduct counterinsurgency operations against an insurgency there that would exist, would also have to persuade Egypt and Jordan to take these refugees.
She just jumped on the desk.
And you know, one has to point out, outside of all the geopolitical issues that raises, this is a president.
Oh, because the food is up here. Vermin, why is the food up here?
Focus on America first.
Set me up.
He didn't want us engaging in any grand global projects. Well, I mean, this is another war in the Middle East, and the last war in the Middle East we took part in.
Oh, sorry, Ruben was trying to eat it.
Ended up stretching out much longer, was much more complicated, and cost about $2 trillion. So, you know,
again, like, I really wish people would talk about where that money went when they talk about how much the Iraq war cost, because everything becomes so clear when you realize, like, I think that a lot of people think when they hear that, oh, the Iraq war cost like so-and-so $1 trillion a year. Okay, so that's like the cost of paying the soldiers, the wages, and like building guns and like fueling tanks and like building ammunition and stuff. And it's like, well, part of it, yeah, but no, like a huge amount of that money is built on like the public-private partnership bullshit. It's contracts. Yeah, it's Halliburton getting $500 per hamburger.
It seems very unlikely that this can go smoothly. You can imagine American power forcing the Egyptians to do something, forcing the Jordanians to do something. But you're going to have to put military on the ground to get Hamas to cede power, to get the Palestinians to move, to secure that area. And that is another military intervention in the Middle East. And I thought President Trump ran in 2016, explaining that that was precisely why he was running. He wanted to stop America's senseless adventures in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's what he has repeated time and time again. He said no new wars on his watch. He has talked about that. But also just in this moment, for a region that is going to be waking up to these comments from the president. I mean, I've been messaging with
that's my yogurt. You can't have my yogurt. No. You like Greek yogurt? She doesn't even care. She's like, yeah, I got it.
Even an Israeli official acknowledging how difficult this would be to implement, what it means for the ceasefire deal that is in place right now. I mean, if you're Hamas, which is obviously the other party of this agreement, and they see the U.S. president saying, we're going to take over the Gaza Strip, does this mean the ceasefire deal still holds, or that, I mean, there are still hostages being held by Hamas there?
How many hostages are left at this point? Jesus Christ. Lamau, that question, yeah. Every day it gets worse. It's all so protracted, you know? Nothing can ever happen quickly because if it happens quickly, you can't milk as much money out of it as possible. Was it plain Greek yogurt? No, it was mixed berry Greek yogurt. But it was also like an empty container of it, so she only got a tiny bit. Hope you enjoyed it. Love mixed berry Greek yogurt. Hell yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite shit. I ate an insane amount of it, honestly. It's like half of where your dono money goes. They can't taste sweet. Thank God we're omnivores. We have such a wide range of shit we can taste.
I mean, you have literally nearly 2 million people living in a place that has thousands and thousands of unexploded ordnance and bombs. It's in some places like a minefield. You have buildings that are collapsing and unsafe. You have no sewage, no running water.
What happened to this place?
It has become completely unlivable.
It's just become that way, you know? Just like it happened. They're all in on it, man. Natural disaster language again? Yeah. No, because if it was a natural disaster, they would use more active language. They would say, the hurricane did this. This is a level of passivity reserved exclusively for cops in Israel.
War that Hamas started on October 7th. And I, as a veteran, can tell you it is despicable and sad that groups like Hamas, Al-Qaeda, ISIS literally sacrifice the lives and the livelihoods of their own people to achieve some type of ideological gain. But I think what the president is just acknowledging is we've been looking at this over the last weeks and months. And frankly, he's been thinking about it since October 7th. And that war is, you know, everybody's heart breaks for the Palestinian people across the region, and rightly so. But he's not seeing any realistic solutions on how those miles and miles and miles of debris are going to be cleared, how those, you know, essentially unexploded bombs are going to be removed, how these people are physically going to live for the at least a decade, if not longer, it's going to take to do this. So the fact that nobody has a realistic solution, and he puts some very bold, fresh, new ideas out on the table, I don't think should be criticized in any way. I think it's going to bring the...
It's not even like it's a good idea. It shouldn't be criticized in any way. Remarkable. I mean, what do you expect, right? National Security Advisor. I don't know. We'll see what actually ends up happening. But yeah. Okay, wait. I have some ending thoughts on this because it's pretty straightforward. You don't need much analysis. It's pretty straightforward. For one, if you're still talking about Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan, your brain is cooked. And you are not actually any kind of ally to people suffering under this presidency. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, me peering into an alternate timeline where every Muslim in Dearborn, Michigan voted for Kamala Harris, and it's November 5th, Trump victory. Like, shut the fuck up. Oh my God. Wow, people were stupid? That's crazy. You are too. You're not special. Like, yeah, I'm sure Jill Stein voters feel all right. No, you're doing the thing I'm talking about, Mr. History. No one cares. It's not relevant at all, you know? Don't become one of those people who gripes. You're gonna do like the your version of Brianna Joy Gray talking about force the vote like 5 years after it was a possibility, you know? I mean, you gotta walk past it. Past a point. There's also going to be a lot of people who are like super anti-Semitic about how obviously Trump is to Israel. You have to remember, okay? America and Israel are functionally the same country. They're run by the same corporations. The interests that dictate what happens in Israel are largely the same that dictate what happened over here. That's just the colonial project. Like you're acting like the British Raj controls the state of England or something. You know what I mean? You've got it mixed up. Israel is the aggressive hotspot that allows the powers that be to get billions and billions and billions of dollars in taxpayer investment in their project. You campaigned for both Biden and Harris for the better part of 4 years. What the... This place looked like I'm really important Twitch for a while. Shut it, bro. What the hell are you talking about? What's the relevance of this to what I said? You know what? You're not even operating on the level, okay? You're still not potty trained enough for this conversation. You'll come back. You'll work it out. It's fine. Sometimes it's just a maturity thing. Bro, I don't even know what that shit is. Who even knows? Someone said Jill Stein would have fixed this. True. Who's she rustling? If only we elected RFK. That is true. That might have been the timeline, right? Except, wait, he's a huge Zionist. Basically, like, everyone who can be bribed is a Zionist because there is an infinite amount of money behind the Zionist project. Like, it's not Israeli money. It's AIPAC money and money associated with AIPAC. And that just basically means, like, the wealthy of conservative people and wealthy people, which there's a big overlap between. It's like all the money in the world. You know, if you can be bribed, you're on their team. Why is Israel so important to these corporations? Because the MIC needs a like hotspot with constant like an excuse to constantly invest in military or contracting projects. Look what's happening right now with Trump. He's like, somebody's going to need to go clean the rubble and defuse the explosive bombs. This is military contracting. Again, it's happening again. Literally. Like, we pay Israel to bomb the shit out of the Gaza Strip, and now we're going to dump more money into like the same 5 corporations or whatever that are going to accept massive no-bid government contracts, billions and billions of dollars to clean it up. It's not MIC profit. The Congress is riddled with Zionist freaks on both sides. Yeah, because of MIC profit. You think that like it's a coincidence that like all the powerful and wealthy people in this country are super, super concerned about what? The safety of Jewish people? Meanwhile, they all pal around with Nazis? No, I don't think so. No other explanation makes sense. If it's like a genuine ideologically informed Zionism, then how are so many of them like okay with butting up with Nazis? What are you up to? And she's up to something. No, it's money. This isn't the first time this has happened. The same thing happened with the East India Trading Company or with the British Raj. You have corporations that are responsible for like a massive amount of money cycling around, investment. They bring back resources, or they're like vessels for investment. And because they end up getting so powerful, they end up having a bunch of sway over like the domestic nation as well, not because of any sincere interest in what the well-being of India or whatever, but because that's where the money is, you know? In a world where like so much money is caught up in speculation and military contracting, obviously that's going to be like the premier vessel for you know, for making a buck. The East India Trading Company was functionally a military. The MIC goes back a long way. Wouldn't they benefit off a semi-healthy rich population for more profit? No. I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's not what they want to do. The MIC wouldn't. That's not how they make their money. Good Lord, she's distracting. Well, you get me. How do we protect the Palestinians? Why would Trump want the Palestinians to clean the bombs? They're not going to be cleaning them. How are the protests? Good question. Let's find out after I send this off. To the content mines, down into the well, just like Trump, quote, the U.S. will take over Gaza. It's pretty straightforward. US to do. Uploading the thing before I forget, because sometimes I do. All right, sent off. Very good. There we go. Hello. Protests at state capitals nationwide. I can't imagine these are popping off too much, but maybe I'm being like a cynical asshole. Maybe I'm being a grump. Am I being a grump, folks? You got to let me know. York? I was one in Idaho. There were like 25 people. Well, it's Idaho, like half the state. Even in Ohio? Yeah. Well, what matters is that people are having fun, right? At least people win. Yeah, you know, it could be worse, right? Could be worse. Flag flown upside down as sign of distress outside the U.S. State Department building. Person who did that's probably going to get fired by Doge any minute now, if they haven't already. And to think if they'd only voted when it counted, I have no idea what you mean. I'm not going to lie, guys. I really feel like a lot of this would have ended up happening under Kamala. With regard to Israel. Sorry, I still had my mind on the Israel thing, not on the rest of this. With the Israel thing, without any meaningful pushback, this was always kind of the direction things were going. As for the rest of this, though, Trump is signing an executive order right now to ban trans people from doing sports or something. That sounds about right. That kind of fits in with my preconceived notions of him, you know? W's in the chat. Oh, wow, lots of W's in the chat.
Years of this we went through, and Mr. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is a nice crowd, isn't it, huh? You've been waiting a long time.
Oh, you got
for this.
female athletes here,
So
I
have
assume?
Actually,
Because they're wearing
so
like
ridiculous.
sporty clothes.
But here we are. And
Here we go. Banning biological males from women's sports in schools. You're only playing into their greater plan here. You're gonna force more trans women into being gamers.
This doesn't have to be long. It's just all about common sense. Doesn't have to be long. In a few moments, I'll sign a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time.
Yippee!
Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men
Man, until they discovered trans people, you wouldn't see it today, but like women's sports were despised by conservatives. It was not only did they not care about, to say they didn't care about them would actually be misrepresentative. They politically despised them. because they hated female athleticism because they didn't like women being strong. Like, they despised it. And only now do they pretend. Yeah, they still do. When you hear conservatives talk about female athletes in a non-trans context, they are like just outright cruel mockery. Like, they don't respect it as a concept at all. They're so hateful towards women, you know? They hate women. So, you know what? To all trans women, you know, that's a gender affirming indicator right there that they hate you so much that conservatives hate you.